Well, hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Raven's Eye. How's everybody doing? See, he's got a couple people in the chat already. Eric, how you doing? Now I'm on East Coast time. East Coast time. I'm just checking in tonight to see how everybody's doing. Got a lot going on. I had a topic picked out, but I think I'm just going to wing it tonight and see what everybody wants to talk about. In the past couple of episodes, I talked about, the big lie, everybody, and how we're being lied to. Yeah, I see. How you doing? Tonight I just want to talk about, how not only just being lied to, but why is it that so many people are so willing to accept the lie? Why is it that those of us who have had paranormal experiences and want to share them with people we care about, that they look at us like we're crazy? Okay, COVID-19. Okay, I, yeah, there's a lie there, sure enough. I'm talking about paranormal experiences tonight. And those of us who have had paranormal experiences, those of us who have had multiple experiences and have been ridiculed about it and refuse to talk about it anymore. People are willing to accept the word of a stranger on TV and accept their word as the gospel, but someone they know and care about tells them about something that happened to them, and they dismiss it, call you crazy, think you're lying, want attention. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been looking into this thing called mass formation psychosis. And it's been talked about a lot here lately. And Dr. Malone brought it up on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks ago. And oh boy, that kicked the freaking hornet's nest. So I think that this mass formation psychosis is brainwashing, is what it is, or hypnosis. Has been going on for a long time. We've been kept in the dark for so long, all of us, that there are just a few of us who get woke up out of the matrix, and we see things clearly. And everybody else around us is still walking around in a fog and still buying the bullshit. So that's what makes it so hard for a lot of us to keep going on. Hauntings and possessions, they're on the rise. cryptid encounters of all kinds. Now, I've talked about this before, and it's just a simple matter of just looking into our history. Where did we come from? And for me, at one point, it made me question everything, my belief system, everything. I grew up, it was Christian based, but I never really did go to church. My parents weren't church going folk, but they were God fearing folk. But most I knew what was in the Bible were, some pictures of family and whatnot. It wasn't until I was like 15 till I cracked open the Bible and went to a church. That's because my aunt drugged me. She asked me if I wanted to go to Bible school, and I said, I got nothing else going on. It was in summertime. Let's go. But that brought me a little closer to the Lord. And so here I am. I've had multiple encounters. Ghostly phenomena, demonic, angelic, UFOs, and cryptids. I've run the gambit. And it made me think real hard about everything, especially with my encounter with the Sasquatch, Sabe, the forest folk. And when I try to talk to people about it, there's a lot of people who just shake their head. And I've said it before, and now I do. It's to the point now where I don't give a damn what people think. I don't. But then there's a part of me that I've come to a realization that part of me still does. And it's not for the reasons that you might think. It's the reasons, but I hate for their ignorance to continue. I would like for them to see for themselves. But what can you do aside from dragging them out there and showing them for themselves? And there's amount of skepticism that's there. That's very unhealthy. And it's because they've been lied to. I've been treated like mushrooms, kept in the dark, and fed a lot of shit for the majority of their life. And there's a certain amount of fear that goes into this process. If something is brought to their attention, something that shakes up their paradigm, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And they'll shake it off, call it bullshit, call you a liar, even though they've known you for 20, 30 years. And going about their business. And like I say, they'll just keep right on keeping on. And that bothers me. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. After tonight, I'm gonna have other subjects to talk about, but I wanted to touch on this because I think it's been going on for so long. We'll be fed tidbits of truth, I believe, that's disguised as lie and fiction. And read the chat here, Eric. Yeah. I've got to agree with you there. It's the control. You say that anyway. The reason they cover up hauntings and supernaturals is because they are cramming socialist ideology, communism down our throat. People won't see things they don't want to. That's right. I've known quite a few people who are spiritually sensitive and just shut it off. I've mentioned it before. This couple I went out to investigate their property for when they're having UFO activity, they're having other types of activity out there, cryptid activity. And the wife, her name is Heather, I do believe she's a sensitive. And been a sensitive since she was a child. I believe her mother was sensitive. She told me stories about her mom looking for Bigfoot. And she knew where to go. Those of us who have had the veil lifted are a step ahead of the pack. We really are. And those of us who see things that aren't normal, or have seen things that aren't normal, what most people consider normal, because we've had the veil lifted and we see things more clearly, we can see the bullshit. Finally. And usually, when it comes to world events, we can see through the bullshit. And when we try to talk to people about certain things, we're labeled conspiracy theorists. And you know what? That's fine with me, because you look at the history of what's been going on in the last couple of years, us conspiracy theorists have been well ahead of the curve. We're sitting back waiting for the rest of these assholes to catch up. Ray, how you doing? Rebelicious, how you doing? But mass formation psychosis is a form of hypnosis. And it's easy for people to buy into this, especially with the fear mongering that's been going on. My first Sabe encounter. 2006, on my mom and dad's property. I was on a bridge behind their house. I was camping out. I was on a 3-day camp out. Just getting away from everything. Just me and nature. I mean, I wasn't that far away from civilization, but I was far enough away to where wasn't nobody going to bother me. They'd have to do some trekking to get to me. I took a 4-wheel drive to get there part of the way and I had to hike the rest. So on my 3rd day there, my final night, it was about 10 o'clock at night. I'm sitting around the fire. I'm reading a book, just enjoying the peace and quiet. And off to my right behind me, I hear this growl, roar, scream down the holler behind me. And I ain't never heard anything like that before in my life. I said, well, what the hell is that? And it did it again, and everything went deathly quiet. And then it was so loud that, I mean, it almost sounded like it was right next to me. And all I had on me for protection was a little 32 automatic that I brought with me for snakes, and a hatchet for cutting up some firewood. That's all I had. And you ask if I was aware of Sasquatch at the time? No. As a matter of fact, I thought it was a lot of bullshit. Even with everything that I'd been through, everything spiritual that I'd been through, I didn't really believe in it, and I'm ashamed to admit it, because my niece, she was a firm believer. She don't talk about it much anymore, but she was a firm believer at the time, and I would shake my head when she talked about it. Shame on me. And it took me a while to come to the realization of what I heard and what it was. And it was Sasquatch Chronicles. I was flipping through YouTube trying to find something to watch, and it just come up in my feed for whatever reason. I'm like, well, let's give it a try. And it happened to be pirated episodes from Wes's show that were uploaded to YouTube. And I started listening to him. And he had on there one episode, he had the Ohio Howl. And then he started playing the Moorhead tapes, the Sierra sounds that I knew. I mean, the hairs raised up on my arms. I was like, and this was like 4 or 5 years later. Actually, let me take that back. It was 6, 7 years later. It was 7 years later. I could remember it like it was yesterday. It was more like a roar, a growl, roar, howl, scream. It was all four combined. And I tried like hell to get on the internet and, Google animal sounds, different types. And the closest I could get in the mix was an African lion. So that was my first encounter. Let me tell you, it scared the shit out of me. I didn't know what the hell it was. And I knew it was big. It had to have been. It had to have been. Like I said, I've seen all kinds of stuff. And it was after that, the bug bit me and I started going squatching. But I started seeing things different. I've always looked at things different. But for a while there, I just went along to get along, And the more I looked into the Sasquatch topic, the more I looked into it and actually actively trying to find them, doing my own research, field investigations, and looking into sightings, other people's accounts. I realized this was one hell of a rabbit hole. One hell of a rabbit hole. And there was a part of me that, and every now and then, even to this day, there's times when I just feel like I might be a little crazy. Hell, I might be. I don't know. I really don't give a shit no more. But tonight's going to be a short night. I got a lot going on in the next couple of days. There's some bad stuff happening in my family. It's got a double whammy that this week, and I lost a good friend and an uncle this week. And I got 2 funerals to go to. And yeah, I got a lot on my mind. I wanted to do this. I figured it'd be a little bit therapeutic for me to get down here and talk. Crazy just means you're aware. That's true. I believe that. I believe that. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, it's been a rough week. I appreciate it. Family's had it rough, and a lot of friends have, I've been talking to a few of them here and there. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. Like I said, I wanted to get on here and just talk. But I did. I had the idea of getting on here and talk about this mass formation psychosis is what it's called, and it's what Dr. Malone was talking about on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks ago. And most of the article I was looking at, excuse me, most of the article I was looking at, he talks about COVID and all this other stuff, but I see underlying data there that stacks up. It's this something's been going on for a very long time, and I believe the coronavirus was just a catalyst to spike a superior amount of fear to propel an agenda at warp speed. That's just my crazy notion. But fear drives people to believe anything people in authority will tell them if it means keeping them safe. Okay? People are willing to throw away whatever freedom they have, whatever freedom they assume they have, for that tidbit of temporary false security. And it makes me sick to my stomach. Fear, absolutely, Ray. Fear has been used as a weapon. Let's see. In this article, it reads here. It says, let me go ahead and bring it up here. Here we go. As many of you know, I've spent time researching blah blah blah. I'll get down here to this one right here. What one observes with mass hypnosis is that a large fraction of the population is completely unable to process new scientific data and facts demonstrating what they have been demonstrating that they have been misled about the effectiveness and adverse impacts of mandatory mask use, blah, blah, blah. Those hypnotized by this process are unable to recognize the lies and misrepresentations they are being bombarded with on a daily basis and actively attack anyone who has the temerity to share information with them which contradicts the propaganda that they have come to embrace. The propaganda that they have come to embrace. Fear. HIV. Everyone hide under a rock. I remember them days, man. I remember back in the 80s when HIV was a death sentence. I remember that. So, get back to this. Mass formation psychosis. So when he says mass formation, you can think of this as equivalent to crowd formation. One can think of it as crowd psychosis. The condition to set up mass formation psychosis includes lack of social connectedness, a sense making, as well as large amounts of latent anxiety and passive aggression. When people are inundated with a narrative that presents a plausible object of anxiety and strategy for coping with it, then many individual groups gather to battle the object with a collective single-mindedness. This allows people to stop focusing on their own problems, avoiding personal mental anguish. Instead, they focus all their thought and energy on this new object. A mass formation progress, the group becomes increasingly bonded and connected. Their field of attention is narrowed and they become unable to consider alternative points of view. Leaders of the movement are revered, unable to do no wrong. We see this. This is happening. And people refuse to see anything other than what they've been told. They can't step out of that camp. They refuse to because they're too afraid. And it's drove a divisionary wedge in this country. It divided it so much that there seems to be no turning back. I've had certain family members express feelings along these lines. I try to talk to them. They're not real happy with me and my point of view. And fear keeps them in line. Fear keeps them an obedient little drone. Indoctrination. It starts early. Early. And this has been going on for many, many, many years. And the best way to cure ourselves of this psychosis is, one, for everybody to have an encounter like we've had that brings us out into the light, that keeps us there, takes the blinders off, and then, rubs away that film off your glasses to where you can see clearly, see through the bullshit. Or just cut yourself off from social media altogether and quit watching the fucking news. ABC, NBC, CBS, all those alphabet fruit groups. They're peddling fear, misinformation, and where they were secretly peddling propaganda before, they're openly doing it now. Since Obama signed it into law, they can do that. They can spread propaganda. collective consciousness. Yeah. So, here we go. Left unabated, a society under the spell of mass formation will support a totalitarian governance structure capable of otherwise unthinkable atrocities in order to maintain compliance. A note: mass formation is different from groupthink. There are easy ways to fix groupthink by just bringing in dissenting voices and making sure you give them platforms. It isn't so easy with mass formation. Even when the narrative falls apart, cracks in the strategy clearly aren't solving the issue. The hypnotized crowd can't break free of the narrative. This is what appears to be happening now with the COOF. The solution for those in control of the narrative is to produce bigger and bigger lies to prop up the solution. Those being controlled by mass formation no longer are able to use reason to break free of the group narrative. But I see this has been happening for many, many years. I mean, it just... To get away from this for a minute, it's like I was saying earlier, how do you explain the fact that you know someone, you've known someone for many, many years. This person has known you for many, many years very well. You're like family. You trust one another. But when you tell this person about your supernatural experience, they think you're crazy and then distance themselves from you. Now, I'm not saying this has happened to me personally, but I know of people that it has happened to. I've seen how people act toward me. Now that I've come out about, all of my experiences, I've just let everybody know, hey, I believe Sasquatch is absolutely real, flesh and blood, and otherwise. Ghosts exist, demons exist, angels exist. They all exist. They're here, whether they're transdimensional beings or what. Johnny Donnie Darko. I watched Mr. Reagan too, and Ladder with Crowder. Indeed, we're spiritual beings. We are. We're spiritual beings. I believe there's a higher power. I'm on the fence about a lot of other things, but I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that there's a sort of a group mind, if you will, when it comes to the power of prayer. If it's genuine, if it's real, and there's enough people doing it, enough people believe, I believe they can invoke miracles. I believe it's possible. Dude, if something ever happens to me here on YouTube, I will definitely be going to Rumble. I'll be on Rumble and Odyssey. I haven't set up anything there as far as putting up shows or anything like that yet, but I will be on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. I'll put all my stuff up there. Manly P. Hall. Oh, yeah. Manly Palmer Hall. Wow. Happy Nightly. God. All right. Okay, so here's another little tidbit here that people really should pay attention to. Of course, the obvious examples of mass formation is Germany in the 1930s and 40s. How could the German people, who were highly educated, very liberal in the classic sense, Western thinking people, how could they go so crazy and do what they did to the Jews? How could this happen? To a civilized people, a leader of a mass formation movement will use the platform to continue to pump the group with new information to focus on. In this case of the COOF, I like to use the term fear porn. Fear porn. Leaders through the mainstream media and government channels curiously feed the beast with more messaging that focuses to further hypnotize their adherents. So, Manly Palmer Hall, born 18th of March 1909, died 29th of August 1990, was a Canadian author, lecturer, astrologer, and mystic. This is according to Wikipedia. Over his 70-year career, he gave thousands of lectures, including 2 at Carnegie Hall, and published over 150 volumes, of which the best known is The Secret Teachings of All Ages in 1928. In 1934, he founded the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. It includes a research library, lecture hall, and publishing house. Hall was born in 1901 in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, to Louise Palmer, and a chiropractor and member of the Rosicrucian Fellowship with William S. Hall, a dentist. Let's see. The younger Hall is said to have never known his father. In 1919, Hall moved from Canada to Los Angeles, California with his maternal grandmother to reunite with his mother, who was living in Santa Monica, and was almost immediately drawn to the arcane world of mysticism, esoteric philosophies, and their underlying principles. Hall delved deeply into teachings of lost and hidden traditions and golden verses of Hindu gods, Greek philosophers, and Christian mystics, and the spiritual treasures waiting to be found within one's own soul. Pretty cool. Yep. Someone published a lot of his lectures. Let's see. Go back up here and take a look at what the teaching of all ages. Um, okay, it says here his career, Hal took over as preacher of the Church of the People in 1919, as well as at Trinity Auditorium in downtown Los Angeles. Less than a year later, Hal booked his first lecture, and the topic was reincarnation. Hall was ordained as a minister of the Church of the People on May 17, 1923, and within days was elected permanent pastor of the church. His first publications consisted of two small pamphlets, The Breastplate of the High Priest, published in 1920, and Wands and Serpents. Between 1921 and 1923, he wrote 3 books. The Initiates of the Flame, published in October 1922, The Ways of the Lonely Ones, published in 1922, and The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, published in March of 1923. Hall coincidentally did not become a Freemason until 1954, more than 30 years after his first book was published. And during the 1920s, Carolyn Lloyd and her daughter Estelle, members of a family that controlled a valuable oil field in Ventura County, California, began sending a sizable portion of their oil income to Hall, who used the money to travel and acquire a substantial personal library of ancient literature. Hall's first trip around the world was to study the lives, customs, and religions of countries in Asia and Europe, which commenced 5th of December 1923, was paid for by donations from Carolyn Lloyd and her congregation. During the early 1930s, using money from the Lloyds, Hall traveled to France and England, where he acquired his most extensive collection of rare books and manuscripts in alchemy and esoteric fields from London auctioneer Sotheby and Company. Through an agent due to the depressed economic conditions of the era, Hall was able to buy a substantial number of rare books and manuscripts at reasonable prices. When Carolyn Lloyd died in 1946, she bequeathed Hall a house, $15,000 in cash, and roughly a $10,000 portion of her estate's annual income from shares in the world's largest oil company for 38 years. Wow. Just wow. Make my channel a musical. Are you crazy? Oh, Lordy. Thinking about Sasquatch. Let's think about a lot of stuff on here. Oh, absolutely. 15,000. That was absolutely, that was worth hundreds of thousands today, I think. Anyway, I'm going to have to look up his works and take a look at it. Wow. The major books which followed include the Dionysian Artificers. I can't read for shit tonight. Freemasonry and of the ancient Egyptians and Masonic orders of fraternity. The Dionysian Artificers. Yeah, Artificers. I can't say it. I can't say it tonight. I'm telling you. It's awful. 1936, Freemasonry of Ancient Egyptians. 1937, Masonic Orders of Fraternity. 1950. He delivered 8,000 lectures in the United States and abroad, authored over 150 books and essays, and wrote countless magazine articles. He appears in the introduction of the 1938 film When You Were Born. 1942, spoke to an attendance setting audience at Carnegie Hall on the secret destiny of America, which later became a book of the same title. And in that book, through a series of stories, he alleged a secret order of philosophers had created the idea of America as a country for religious freedom and self-governance. And one of the stories that Hall cites as evidence of America's exceptionalism, he claims that an angel was present at the signing of the Declaration of Independence and inspiring them with God's words. President Ronald Reagan is reported to have adopted ideas and phrasings from the secret destiny of America in his speeches and essays for his allegorical use of the city upon a hill. Hall returned in 1945 for another well-attending lecture at Carnegie Hall titled Plato's Philosophy of Worldwide Democracy. Pretty cool. Oh, Linda Howe. Yeah, actually, I did. She actually released a new episode tonight. Oh. Well, I thought it was here. Thought it'd be right up on top. Um, Earth Files. Yeah, she just released one tonight. Is not alien force already among us? Have you seen it yet? And yeah, I listened to that episode where she talked to the guy that worked on the Air Force base, where the 25-ton blast door was just ripped off, and Sasquatch was seen around. Seen around there. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm gonna go back and listen to this one. I haven't listened to the new one yet. um, Missile security guard recounts Sasquatch encounter and other high strangers at Maelstrom Air Force Base. I've actually seen that. I've actually I've used that photograph as a thumbnail in some of my earlier videos. That's pretty cool. She's been on a lot of stuff. I've seen her before. She's oh, Ancient Aliens. I've seen her frequently on Ancient Aliens. Let's see, what's the other one? Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I'm pretty sure she was on there. She made a guest appearance on there. She was interviewed, and um, gosh almighty, I can't remember the other one. Can't remember right off the top of my head. Anyway, yeah, she's done a lot. I've seen her before. Gonna listen to this one next. More strange booms and 20 nukes turned off by UFOs. Yeah, the government, their so-called disclosure about unidentified aerial phenomena, it's just a distraction. Feeding us more bullshit. Most everything they come clean with us about is stuff we already knew or speculated. There's nothing new. Nothing new. She looks really good for 80 years old. Tell me she don't. Her and her cats. Great day. I got cats too, but daggone. But yeah, tonight, this is one of those things I kind of wanted to share with you guys, my thoughts on this. Um, why it is that so many of us get rejected by friends and loved ones because they've been so indoctrinated. They've been drinking the Kool-Aid since they were brought into this world. I remember when I used to think, you know, I could trust Walter Cronkite, you know, and that's the way it is. The way it is bullshit, Walt. And I remember when I used to think Dan Rather was the shit, and he was a straight and narrow. He was an investigator. He was a reporter. He was a news anchor. I remember when he was out in the field before he got the anchor job, and he was out in the field reporting to Walter. I'm showing my age here. So yeah, I remember all that. I appreciate it, buddy. You see, that's how I thought about it. I was thinking, if it was real, there's no way it'd be in Virginia. Why would it be in Virginia? And I didn't think that, swamp ape and Ohio grass man were the same damn thing. I didn't think that Sasquatch was the same thing. I didn't think that the Yowie, the urine, the Yeti, the rock ape. I mean, I've been trying to get a hold of Cindy Goodbreak and see if she'd let me share her video on here. She had a lot of really good interviews. I watched she was at this past weekend. She was at a luncheon with some friends, some of the outlaws. And they talked about their encounters and things that went on. And man, they talk about things that a lot of other people who look into the subject won't touch with a 10-foot pole. That's because they've actually done their homework and come to the realization there's more to the forest folk than we know. Get to reading other stuff and get talking around my mouth and don't look at chat. That sounds typical. That does. That sounds typical. Oh, Lordy. Y'all a little bit older than I am. You got about 18 years on me. I remember stuff that happened to me when I was like almost 3 years old, but I can't remember what happened yesterday. That's sad. Wow. Yeah. Purple Hobbit. I think the first time, I've been trying to think about the first time I saw you guys in a chat somewhere. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's Bigfoot Odyssey. I'm pretty sure. And later on that night, we went from Bigfoot Odyssey to the Paranormal Portal. I used to float around there too. I meant to watch their stuff tonight, but I didn't get around to it. I tried watching a little bit of Carrie and Daniela's interview tonight. I watched some of it. It's pretty wild. That poor old fellow was still shook up. You know, you could tell when somebody's bullshitting when they're putting on. This guy wasn't. Oh, you saw when I was on Bigfoot Odyssey? Oh, the first time I was on Bigfoot Odyssey. Let's see, Venomous Fringe. I was on Daniela's show. On Bigfoot Odyssey was awful, man. It wasn't the interview itself. It was just I was having bad connection. It always seems to happen. It's like I wanted to go live Saturday night and I couldn't. I didn't have internet. Not worth a damn. It kept cutting in and out. Same thing happened to me that Thursday night. Unfreaking believable, man. Well, Wednesday. It was Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I was like, damn it, man. VO. You fool yourself tonight. Oh, yeah, Bigfoot Odyssey. I got a feeling, there's a lot of people that have been on those shows multiple times. Daniela asked me to come on her show. That's when she first started out, and that went a lot better. That time, it went a lot better. But I think my ideas, my way of thinking, is so outside the box. I don't know if a lot of people like to have me on their shows anymore, for just the way I think. We love you too, Rick. Oh, me. Been a long week. I think I covered this in one episode before, but I found this interesting. Figured I'd share this one last little tidbit with you guys. Investigator says paranormal calls went up during the pandemic. I freaking believe that. One Raleigh woman says she's confident they exist in one form or another, and she says she's hardly the only one who believes this. It's as silent as the grave in a city cemetery in Raleigh on a cool October evening. Amid the dark night, headstones line the cemetery grounds in rows, making the final resting place for those buried underneath. And old oaks and their trees with twisting branches are scattered about the property. It's a spooky scene for most, but not for Alex Matsuo. We're going to do a brief ghost hunt, Matsuo said. I'm using all the equipment to detect changes in environment. Matsuo is a paranormal investigator who has horror stories of her own. I experienced this when I was a kid, and then I had a really intense experience when I was 19 or 20. She says those encounters, coupled with limited knowledge of her experience with spirits, led her to a life wrapped around investigations that involved interacting with the paranormal world. She starts every ghost hunt by recording the date of her location. Then Matsuo uses a motion detection device to track any responding spirits. She says if it emits a ringing sound, something could be nearby. I do like this equipment because it looks like a lantern, which for the deceased, if assuming from the 1700s, 1800s, that's something more familiar to them. She also uses a device called a Mel meter, which detects EMF and temperatures. I actually would love to purchase a Mel meter myself. I've seen them in action. They're top of the line too. They're really expensive. I used to like those K2s, but let's see. She's detecting changes that's happening. It's detecting changes that's happening. And if we do have a spooky experience, we can look at the Mel meter to see if something's going on. Matsuo says she's investigated city cemeteries of Raleigh several times and believe it's haunted. Encountered different things, especially like a shadow that's been described as like a guardian of the cemetery. And it's not just cemeteries. Matsuo says there was an influx of clientele during the pandemic. People were home more often than they're used to being. So I think they were noticing more things happening. When Matsuo goes to a client's house, she brings the same equipment with her and stays for hours. That's the only way you get anything done, if you stay for hours. And if it's a spirit or ghost, and we assume they're people, they're not going to come out and say hello right away. We'll have the client tour the home with us where they encounter activity. But yeah, it's a short article about that. Um, you say Daniela has an open mind, but she's been deterred from ethereal. You really think he denies that Bigfoot experience? I've heard him tell it quite often, and I don't think he does. I just think he's scared of it. I don't think he denies it happens. He wishes it never happened. And he's recounted it so many freaking times. I'm sure he's tired of talking about it. But then again, I mean, I started tuning into them when they only had like 10,000 subs. Well, they've gained 30 since then. I was noticing tonight they've got over 40,000 subs now. Good for them. For real. But Daniela, Ray, what do you mean she's been deterred from ethereal? She doesn't talk about ghosts or anything like that anymore? That right there, Rick, I believe you're right about that. I think you just can't reconcile things. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, see, they can't reconcile things. Basson drew the forensic picture of his encounter. Yeah. Actually, I was watching that episode on my phone. I took a screenshot of it, and I'm going to put it back up here next time I get a chance. It looked wild. Well, there's nothing practical about Sasquatch. Come on. And I've said this before. When I was doing paranormal investigations, when I first started out doing, my ghost hunts, that's what I used to call it then, but I refined it. Now I was actually doing investigations. Somebody have a problem, I would go out and I tried to, assess the situation and see if I could come up with a solution with what I did know, or refer to somebody else who I thought might have a little bit of better grasp on that situation. You know, I used to model my technique after Jay and Grant, freaking ghost hunters, and their philosophy is when in doubt, throw it out. Now I'm like, hell no, you do not throw anything out. You file it away. If it doesn't fit one particular instance, you file it away. You make a note of it, file it away. And if you find another instance where there's another type of encounter like that, put it together. Okay, this puzzle pieces fit now. We can see what's going on. Okay. Okay. Tries to keep everything practical. I'm trying not to badmouth. It just needs to take a minute and realize Bigfoot's real. Absolutely. Early on, she had a very intensely interesting woman guest, so she was kind of leaning into the esoteric, then stopped. I don't know why, man. I mean, it's her show. She can do whatever the hell she wants to do. It's like me, for instance. I do whatever the hell I want to do. I say what I want to say. If I wind up off of YouTube, I wind up off of YouTube. You guys can check out the Ravens Outpost on Rumble and Odyssey. And BitChute, by the way. Okay. I'm gonna do something. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Do. My internet is running so slow. It's so slow. I'm gonna play one of my videos, and it's not very long. I'm serious, guys. I'm wondering if I'll get a copyright strike for actually playing one of my own videos. It's happened before, not to me, but it's happened. Playing one of it. I knew a fellow would get ripped for playing one of his own videos. Okay, let's see. Let it load up here. Okay, hold on. That look familiar? Cryptid Kid here. Cryptid Kid. What the hell? This is my first video channel, and kind of want to explain what I want to cover. Mostly cryptozoology related, some parent. But I think um, a lot of it is. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I think with all that I've heard, some point, it's all. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Um, guys have been doing this a while. Stuff trying to. Well, I'm just. That's my first cringy ass video. But even then, I was saying it's all related. That video's 4 years old. It's almost 4 years old. It's not that long ago, no. But in the realm of YouTube, it's fairly old. Oh yeah, my camera equipment. It was a what was it? An iPhone 5. It was an iPhone 5, and I had a faulty one, and I had a all. I couldn't do the selfie mode, right? And that's what I was doing then. I was doing a selfie mode, and my sound kept cutting in and out. It was awful. It was awful. Uh, yeah, good times, good times. I lost a lot of footage off of that thing because I couldn't download it, and some of the stuff I did was able to download. I lost on another computer before I built this one I've got right now. My hard drive fried. I lost all kinds. I lost photos. I lost video. All kinds of other stuff. Stuff I'll never be able to get back. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I'm surprised I ain't got flagged for a copyright strike. Dumb. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Yeah, I keep my, for the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 videos, I couldn't keep, I struggled to get over 5 minutes. And then after a while, I couldn't shut the fuck up. You couldn't shut me up. I had to go through and that's when I started editing stuff and actually started doing the whole uh, production thing, adding this and adding that, and cutting out a lot of stuff. I cut out a lot of stuff, and on my old intro, I don't know if you guys remember that or not. I thought it kicked ass, but a lot of people said it was too long. Too long. That's cool. Keep on talking. I'm glad you guys have a, hankering to come around and hang out with this shithead every now and then. Well, I appreciate that. I am open minded because there's a lot out there we don't know about, and it's it's just plumb stupid to disregard anything some people say. I mean, I've run into some people that seem just a little, they're a bubble off plum, and I know that. And their stories, and you sometimes accounting from their stories where they're coming from, you're like, oh boy. But then they will say something, they'll hit on a couple of these key words, and these key, these things that happen to them. And I'm like, I'll be damned. I'll have to go back and reassess everything they just said. Because at that point, I realized these people aren't bullshitting. Okay? So, that I feel like I've grown a lot since I've started this. I mean, but even then, when I said it was all connected, I didn't realize how connected everything was. If you follow what I'm saying, man, oh, what a rabbit hole! What a rabbit hole! Woo, dude. I tell you what, it's one of them things where I look back now, and I really didn't know what the hell I was getting myself into. I really didn't. I didn't. I originally started this channel as a personal vlog. I didn't really think people would actually watch it, but then I started getting hits here and there, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned. And Chris Cyrus, he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do an interview, and I'm like, sure. And I'll be honest with you, folks, with me, all right, how tall do I think Sasquatches get? Based on what I have heard, okay? And because I do not have one in my basement that I am studying right now, I'm only going to have to go on that because I do not know for sure. This is purely speculation. It's an educated guess. Maturity, reaching anywhere between 8 to 15 feet, I would say. And I think also it might also depend on the region they're in. But I've also heard of 14 footers down this way. So, I don't know. So, how tall do I think Sasquatches get? Between 8 to 15 feet. And I've measured that, just for purpose of just saying this. I want to see how tall this is. I'm like, holy shit. This this fellow was on Bigfoot Odyssey tonight telling his story. He said that this one shadow, this one Sasquatch that he's seen, was probably about 12, 13 feet high, about 5 feet wide across the shoulders. Now you sit and you think about that for a minute. Now you run into one in the wild, at 7, 8 feet. Okay, 7 or 8 foot high, and probably about 4 foot wide across the shoulders. I've tried to imagine that, picture that in my head, and it just boggles my mind. I mean, that's just insanely huge. And then I'm thinking, 15 feet? 15 feet? Holy shit. No way. No way. Absolutely. Patty's absolutely real. And going back and looking at MK's footage that he's worked with, he's highlighted, he's uh, cleaned up. You watch her walk, and when her right leg hits the ground, you can see the muscle flex. That's no damn suit. That's no suit. Aside from CGI, there's no way that they can replicate that in a suit today with today's technology. I can't find the National Geographic episode. National Geographic did an investigation of the Patty film. They had a stunt expert in a suit. He had the little dots on him, the CGI. All right. He, where they can map his movements, and he had stilts. Okay, leg and arm extensions. Right, and he was trying to mimic Patty's gait, and he had a hell of a time doing it. Hell of a time doing it. Bob Lazar, he's another one that people have dragged through the mud, and he's had so many people come out to discredit him, what he's seen, what he's done. The fact of the matter is, he's a genius. He holds patents on several different inventions that the government would love to get their hands on, but he's like, fuck you. Exactly. You know, people like that I expect to be Tesla'd. And I'm not talking about the car either. I'm talking about Nikola Tesla. Oh, absolutely. I believe he's right on the money. I don't doubt him a bit. He has nothing to freaking gain from this. Not now, anyway. And with the discreditation, with the discrediting that's been thrown at him and all this other stuff. I mean, Jesus, man. It's ridiculous. I do not believe Bob has a YouTube channel. I don't think so. I haven't looked him up. Um, Bob Lazar first come forward about his experiences in 1989. George Knapp catches a lot of shit too. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but he does. He catches a lot of shit, but people think he's nuts. Just go ahead and look at the Joe Rogan podcast. Look up Bob Lazar, where he had his interview. I think it's still here on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Nikola Tesla had his own ideas about energy, free energy. Oh, Bob Gimlin, yeah, with a Y, yeah. Oh, he's awesome, man. I love his documentaries. Oh, absolutely not. He purposely named it the Tesla because of the propulsion system he's using. Oh, he's a big fan of Nikola Tesla. I mean, there was a lot that he he invented, he grandfathered, um, that we'll never know about. Even even Albert Einstein, when he was asked certain questions, he would say sometimes he would have to say, "You'll have to ask someone smarter than me, like Nikola Tesla." I'm like, wow, wow. Um, and I'm going to be quite honest with you. I knew about Nikola Tesla, but I didn't until a few years ago. And I started doing some digging on him and just looking him up and finding out, wow, this guy was freaking phenomenal. He's my freaking hero. Yeah, he was pretty awesome, man. He was pretty awesome. Oh yeah. Oh, let me just go ahead and pop this up here. See there? Uh 1315. Look that one up. Look that one up. Joe Rogan Experience, a powerful JRE. And look up Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell. Look up that interview. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes. He sat there and talked to Joe. Now, Joe, give credit where credit is due. Joe Rogan has a lot of influential people on there. Joe Rogan has done a lot of putting people out there, giving them a voice, giving them a platform, and he's done real good about that. Now, I don't know if you guys know Bobcat Goldthwait. He's a staunch believer in Sasquatch, and Joe, he openly admitted that there was a time when him and a couple others went out to do some squatching. They didn't stay the night. They didn't stay out there in the no. They went to a hotel. I was like, what are you gonna do? You say you want to find out about these creatures, these people, and you puss out like that? Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. Corn Pop was a bad dude. Huh. I didn't know that. What about Megan Fox? That poor girl. That's one of goodness. No, but from what I can tell, Bob doesn't have a channel of his own. Oh man, people do analysis of Bob's mental health and all this other stuff. They did the gamut. I didn't know what Bob went on Larry King too. Yeah, you know that's the thing. Poor old Joe. Poor old Joe. So she said she's a believer, right? Wow. Oh, they can see it. They're in complete denial. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest Trump fan, but I said it before. I'll say it again. I don't care who likes it and who don't. Maybe Trump wasn't the president we wanted, but he's the one we needed at the time. We still need someone like that in office who's not going to take any bullshit, who's not going to back down, who's going to show some strength, and who's going to be looking out for our best interest, the reason why he was put in office to freaking begin with. Yeah, if you don't, yeah, if you don't agree with the far left, you're either an ist or a phobe. You're an ist or a phobe, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But that's all right. And just let them keep talking. You know, I don't. I think they should just keep right on talking. Talk, 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 talk. And you know, usually if people talk long enough and you just sit back and listen, they'll tell you all they need to know. All you need to know. Okay. And they like talking about themselves a lot, bragging about this and bragging about that. And now that they don't, they don't have any real fear, so they'll come out and they'll just let it all hang out. They don't give a damn. What's going to happen to them? Seriously, what's going to happen to them? Talking, tripping, falling. Yeah. Oh Lord. You know, we're talking about the big lie. We're talking about, how the truth is kept from us. There are people out here, and I've done a couple videos about this before, who make videos about things, and then they'll post pictures and they want so badly to believe, and they want so badly to have some type of phenomenal experience, that they're the type of people who see Jesus in a potato chip. That's the sad part. I'm off the subject of politics right now, but we're talking politics. So yeah, talking, tripping, falling. True. He can't construct a complete sentence. True. I don't feel bad for Biden. He did that to himself. True. Karma does catch up to you. It's a boomerang, and he's feeling every bit of it. Basement Biden. Beijing Biden. I like the Beijing Biden. I use that a lot. A lot. How many times has he been videoed using the N-word? Please. It's the racist. Absolutely. He's the one who authored the crime bill. The big crime bill in the 90s. He's the one. Jesus on a potato chip. Just... Ray, I remember standing in line with my mom at the grocery store, and when I was a kid, I used to like to thumb through those freaking tabloids in there, and I remember seeing this daggone picture. It was a piece of toast, and it was a picture of Jesus on it. It was Jesus. Never forget it. Jesus and potato chip. Jesus on a piece of toast. I mean, there are people who will look and they will see what they want to see. Pareidolia. Oh man, their shit's eating up with it. But I'm like, okay. And I used to get mad about it. I can't get mad at it no more, man. It's fine. Let them enjoy themselves. People are like, well, they're hurting our whatever. Ain't nobody hurting us, the believers. If anybody's hurting us, it's ourselves. And the way we believe, and how we talk to one another, and how we group up. And oh, you do remember the toast. There are people out here who want so bad to believe. But hey, let them do their thing, man. You ain't hurting me. Gonna bring awareness? Let these people talk. Screw it. Let these people post their stuff. Screw it. If there's anybody out there who's watching and listening to me for any reason, you just stumble along and says, what's this fucker talking about? Let me tell you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the truth. I'm talking about you being not afraid to tell what you know. Let go of that fear. Come forward. Tell your story. I've had one person come on and tell their story. And that was great. It was great. And more people need to hear it. More people need to come forward. I've changed the model of how I do things around a lot. And I'm here to tell you, Steve Isdall's been a big influence on me for that. Let him eat cake. That's right. I'm sure Michael Jackson's been on toast and potato chips, and you see him in the clouds, and the paint dried funky, and he's in the wall. I'm sure there's somewhere somebody's seen it. But the more people that come forward, tell their story, the more we know. And we start putting pieces of the puzzle together. I mean, what about the blue-eyed Sasquatch? It's rare, but I've heard of it. I love Steve too. And you know what? He's being attacked. I don't know if you know it or not. You haven't seen him post anything lately, have you? You got to go to his podcast. He's posting stuff now. They've kept him from uploading stuff to YouTube. They've come after Steve and have quit letting him post stuff up on YouTube. And I don't know how long he's going to be down, a week or what. Why the hell I don't understand what they did. What he did for them to, I don't know, to pull him down and suspend him for a week or whatever. But he's posting all his stuff on his podcast because he's in YouTube jail. Oh yeah, Rick, blue-eyed Sasquatch. I've heard about that a couple of times. The white Sasquatch, I've heard that mostly up in Pennsylvania. I've a lot, and he started talking about COVID. Yeah, that's one thing you don't do. You don't talk about the coof. That medical misinformation. They're doing shit that fly right in the face of scientific evidence and proof of what. Look, I'm no doctor. You out there in TV land, YouTube land, if you're stumbling across this video, if you're one of these fact-checking motherfuckers, understand this. I know I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to be a doctor. And I say, if you want information, research it yourself. Don't trust these peckerheads on TV. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I've been vaccinated for a lot of stuff. Have I taken the COVID vaccine? No, I have not. Why? Because I don't trust it yet. I just don't. I believe personally there needs to be more trials and tests run on it. And right now, when we're talking about vaccinations, all it does is supposedly help prevent some of the more severe symptoms to keep you from being as sick as you would be had you not taken the vaccine. It does not. And look at it, CDC. Not that I trust those fucktards. You look at the CDC, and they will tell you. You can read it up. You can look at it on their website. Okay? It does not help prevent the spread of the virus. It does not. And they will tell you that. So, it is what it is. Don't be looking at me for any advice on other than that. Talk to your doctor. If your doctor don't know nothing, find a better doctor. But so, getting back to the blue-eyed Sasquatch, and you hear a lot of reports about their eyes shining red, or they glow, self-illumination. There's a bioluminescence to their freaking eyes. No eye sign. I mean, their eyes are just glowing red, self-illuminating. And Ray, you trying to get me in trouble? You trying to get me put in YouTube jail? We'll mention ivermectin. Yeah. They're using horse tranquilizers. Yeah. Ivermectin is in a lot of stuff. But it works. So they say. So they say. So they say. I don't know. I don't know personally. Oh, here come with the freaking bots, man. What the hell? I have got to fix that shit. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh. Well, if you look, it's getting bad, and they're getting desperate. Okay. I mean, I can see what happened to me. Okay, that's fine. Um, but the other day we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was on the Timcast IRL show, right? And wouldn't after that, and wouldn't a day after he got swatted. Now he's been swatted twice. In a month's time, he's been swatted twice. And this next time, somebody come in. He had Andy No and James O'Keefe on the other night. And it was that night some wackadoodle snuck on the property. Got in the freaking studio. They've got film footage of that. Now, Tim's sitting around and he's talking about, he's got security and this, that, and the other. I'm thinking, you need to beef that shit up. Anybody come in that house needs to be ID'd. If it's a place of business, you got that shit going on, you need to be ID'd. And the parcels need to be checked before you enter the door. If you won't let your stuff be checked, you don't come in. Period. Tim, I hope you listen to this for some odd chance. Let me come up there. Let me take care of your shit. I guarantee you, I'm not afraid to put somebody's dick in the dirt. I promise you that. I've done it more than once. Block. Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. All of a sudden, they can just start pouring in with their bullshit. We've got Tim Pool. Tim Pool. I watch him a lot. He's a little on the left, but he's center left. He's not a he's what you would normally call a classic liberal. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but I've watched the boy grow over the last few years. I mean, he's pretty sharp. Um, he's learning. He's a big 2A guy now, big time. He moved from Philly to West Virginia. Yeah, I loved him. I loved him. He's a good guy. He's a good guy for the most part. You know. I hate what happened to him between him and Adam Krigler, but it is what it is. Adam's got his own thing going, and more power to him. I think he's better off, to be honest. He's not under Tim's shadow. He can grow. But yeah, Tim has a lot of highly influential people. I mean, he's had Steve Bannon on his show 3 times. And he talked about it today. In one of his first shows this morning, he talked about all this. He said he wanted to get everybody in the same room at the same time as a symbol of a big fuck you to the people who want him gone. I would love to see Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Joe Rogan, and darn, Andy No, all up in the same place at the same time. Wow. You guys still there? Have they kicked me off yet? It's going to be 2 hours. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. It's 2 a.m. Got a lot of stuff going on. So, come on now. Oh, yeah. Steven, he's constantly, all the time. It's because it is what it is. I'm going to wrap it up. Oh. Is your head in the gutter? Is your head in the gutter, love? Yeah. I'm gonna take it and sign off here. Listen, anybody who's signing on now or after the fact, and if you've made it this far, thank you for hanging out and watching this long. If you like my content, hit that like button. If you really like it, share it. And if you really like it, subscribe. Absolutely subscribe. And get all this information out there. I was hoping to do something Friday night, but I don't know if I'll be up to it or not. Friday and Saturday, I've got 2 funerals to go to. Not looking forward to that one damn bit. So maybe I'll do something Saturday night. I don't know. But be looking for me. I might pop on tomorrow night. Who knows? Probably not. I got an early go Friday morning. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm not looking forward to it. I lay my uncle to rest Friday. I lay a buddy to mine rest Saturday. I'm looking forward to it at all. Well, guys, I'm going to sign off. And as always, y'all take care of yourself. And I appreciate it. Rick, I appreciate it. And thank you, Ray. Thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight. Going to try to. Until next time, guys, as always, I love you, mean it.